What's up, everyone? It's Greg Alfring here, the host of the Opportunity Podcast. And today I am talking to a very, very, very cool dude. I've been friends with him for roughly 7 years at this point. I first met him way back in the day at the very first Chiang Mai SEO. And I knew of him before then, too. A bit of a legend in the SEO space, kind of an under the radar legend. Like any of my SEO friends who know a lot about SEO, they all know this guy, but maybe some more people who are just getting into the industry may not. And that is my friend James Dooley. So James is a wild businessman. He's done all sorts of cool stuff. I believe he says in this interview he has over 800 rank and rent clients, which is about a third of his kind of wealth machine he has built here. But one of the things I really love about James is like, one, he's really good at building a team culture, which I believe a lot of entrepreneurs genuinely struggle with. Keeping high talented people working for them is often not the easiest thing. And James makes it look flawlessly easy, in my view, at least from an outsider looking in. The other thing that James does that's quite interesting, and I think is a really big opportunity for anyone that understands marketing to a very specific degree, and it can actually scale your marketing prowess, is investing in businesses. So James, any expense that his marketing company invests in, such as backlinks or content, they'll eventually try to invest or buy the company that they're getting those services from. He mentions, I believe one of them is Searcheroo, that he's spending $60,000 a month on links. He ended up becoming a owner of that. Not completely. He ended up buying equity into the business, from what I understand. But this is brilliant. And he doesn't just do it with internet marketing companies. He also does it with some of his local lead gen companies that he's serving as well, which I think this is an amazing way for a marketer to grow equity. And in fact, we had Roland Frazier on this podcast not too long ago, where he often talks about consulting for equity. And this is exactly how you can do it. James has a proven system. He's an expert. He drives massive leads where companies that had 2 crews now might have 25 trucks. Instead of 2 vans, they have 25 trucks, right? That are driving around the road because of his lead generation. And he's able to get these sweet, sweet equity deals because of that skill, because of that consulting for equity, or this for that type of trade, with probably not that much capital going into some of these deals. So we don't really get into that aspect of it, but that would be my assumption. But either way, whether there's capital or more of a consulting for equity kind of setup, I think this stuff is brilliant. And I think most of you listening to this podcast with your marketing skills, with your entrepreneurial skills, could probably do something similar to what James is doing. And I would especially recommend you listen to the tail end of this conversation when we talk about the team building aspect. Some of the stuff that James says there, I think, is extremely crucial that the majority of my entrepreneur friends just simply don't do when it comes to team building. All right, enough of me ranting and praising James Dooley. Let's get into it, and where you can meet the man, the myth, and the legend. See you on the other side. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Opportunity. Today, I have my friend James Dooley here, who I have had the pleasure of knowing for over half a decade. I think over 7 years now I've known you. And I knew of you before I met you, and I loved you even more once I did meet you. So you are like a legend in the space. I'm really glad that you're on here. I'm actually shocked it's taken us this long to get you on here, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we're remedying that issue. But for the rest of my audience who doesn't know the legend that is James Dooley, why don't you tell my audience a bit about who you are and where you're at?
So I've been in the industry now for 14 years. We've got quite a diverse profile, some rank and rent models, some affiliate, and then a lot of time we try to invest in the businesses as well at some point. It normally takes 3 or 4 years before we've grown the relationships with the businesses. But if it's a good business and they're willing to scale, sometimes cash flow can become problems for the business as we start generating too many inquiries for the business. So we try to come in and start helping the sales generation, employing a few members of staff like the sales team within the business so that they can run it operationally, and then we'll kind of run the sales side. But yeah, it all kind of stems from trying to generate a consistent flow of quality inquiries.
Nice. So that's the rank and rent model, but you're going a step further where you actually have a sales team that is fielding the leads, or how does that work?
In certain industries, yeah. So in the prime example in the finance industry, if we can generate the height of the seasons, there's sometimes we can generate over 600 inquiries in a single day. So let's
Wow.
say a mortgage broker or a financial advisor can't deal with that volume of work. So we'll then change it to being a bit more of a fact-finding exercise, from being a cold web lead to taking the call, getting certain information, trying to get 3 months bank statements, their affordability checks, get more information from them and then pass it on as being a hot lead as opposed to just being a cold web lead. But we only do that in certain industries. We won't do it in all industries. It has to make certain that it's financially viable for us to do that. And then we've got, like you said, we've got the affiliate side in the casino market and the slots market, betting market and stuff like that, the iGaming industry. We do quite a bit in that as well.
Well, I have a bunch of questions there, but before we do, let's back up just a little bit here. Tell me a
Yeah.
bit about your origin story. Like, how did you get into this wild world of SEO? How did you start?
I was a project manager, quantity surveyor at Trade, and we've still got, to this day, we've got a playground construction and sports pitch construction business. So it builds like the artificial football pitches, netball courts, tennis courts, basketball courts, those type of facilities in the UK. And we realised that we needed a consistent flow of quality inquiries inbound for us, because initially it was me doing the cold calling and trying to speak to councils and schools and colleges, and it became hard work in trying to do that as well as then dealing with the leads, doing the quoting and doing everything else. It was only a small business at the time. So I'm like, there must be a way for them to be contacting us. And then I realized they needed a website. And then we built the first website. It didn't rank. We didn't know how to rank it. And then we spoke to the web designer and said, why is it not ranking? And the guy says, I'm not an SEO, I'm a web designer. And I was like, what is SEO? And then we Googled what's SEO, and then it just grew from there. So I think to start with, back then we was trying to do like what people would call white hat. So it was all about content and stuff like that. And then we quickly started to hear about backlinks and black hat techniques. And back then, to be honest with you, anything worked. As long as you did something, it worked pretty much. So if you keyword stuff, did white text on a white background, if you put your keywords in your title tag, pretty much that was enough back then. And if you did any backlinks, you was pretty much 100% ranking. So they were what people call like the glory days. And then
Mm,
from there, then we started to realize there's different elements to SEO. There's different nuances. Something that I would like to say is that the first 4 years we failed miserably. Like we failed so many times. There's so many different techniques that we were. When I say failed, they actually all back then the worked. We was very slow at adapting what we needed to do, and there was a lot of information out there that was misinformation. So one of the first things that once we started to make a success of it was build an in-house like testing team and R&D team. Now we've got quite a large, I don't know anybody in the world to this day that's got a larger testing team than what we have. We, on a consistent basis, day in, day out now, try to break the SERP, see what's going on with the SERP, see where basically what doesn't work. So if someone tries to tell us something that works, we'll treat it that it doesn't until we test it and see that it does, if that makes sense. So that's kind of helped us a lot because there were so many courses and so many SEO myths in the industry that was like, well, I don't know, we need to test this in-house. We need to do this. And because we've got that many different industries, whether it's finance, casino, whether it's like a local lead gen site, in total, I think we've got over 800 paying clients on Rank and Rents in probably 650 different industries. So
wow.
I don't really know that many people that's got as much data than what we can have in the different industries. So that kind of works well for us. And then obviously we can just test stuff. And we've got like, if a site doesn't work, like, I mean, we normally rank every site that we go into. Our issue is we enter certain industries and the monetization is just not good enough. Like we might enter a micro niche that just doesn't really take off like we thought it might do. And then this gets put into the testing team. They can run display ads like Ezoic or AdThrive or Mediavine, and they can just test things on those sites. But we're never really going to make money from a lead generation side of it, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's
Yeah,
basically
definitely.
so it started from we needing inquiries ourselves. What we classed as being like shouldering niches or neighboring niches. We started to try to build websites for who was we doing work for? Could we get them busier? And if they got busier, we got busier indirectly because we started ranking for all of our terms, but it was like, what do they do? So, like, prime example, we do a lot of the playground surfacing, but we don't really do the equipment. But we realized if we ranked for the equipment and give the equipment manufacturers the inquiries, we then on those jobs would do the surfacing. So we just built it that way. And then it just kind of, I didn't mean to I kind of fell into SEO as an industry, as a trade. I mean, it's unbelievable now of how it happened, but I didn't set out to be an SEO. We just built a website. We built a second website, a third website, a fourth website that all fed into the same company. And then before we knew it, 5-6 years down the line, we was making more money outside of the actual business we was working in on like fencing leads, roofing leads, cladding leads, construction leads, tarmac leads, road markings leads. And we're like, this is its own business. So that's kind of how it all evolved and how it all started.
That's brilliant, man. Your story reminds me a bit when I was 18. I really didn't want to go into the oil field. So I tried to sell life insurance and they give you like
Yeah,
a memory jogger, right? Like, who do you know? And like, I know 17-year-olds. I just graduated high school. It's not like
yeah,
no one interested in life insurance, right? And I tried cold calling and it was so brutal, man. I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I ended up getting
yeah.
my 30 names to them and like, oh, how did you do this? Like, oh, I ran a Facebook ad. And like, whoa, no, no, you can't do that. Like, what? That's bullshit. Why can't I do that? So I feel you on the lead gen stuff. I think that's really cool. And the misinformation stuff with SEO, that's still a huge problem in my view. I see it all the time, especially on LinkedIn, where you have these white hat knights that are like proclaiming stuff, and they have like a sample size of one that probably works mainly because of the authority of that SaaS
Yeah,
more so than anything else. So I think that's cool. You have a research and development team. I know probably like 5 SEOs who could say that. So you're
yeah.
definitely one of the rare few. Tell me a bit about how you do that. Like, how did you structure the research, the R&D team? Like, what's their frameworks? Like, how do they know to go about breaking something? And with like lead gen, for example, like, are they setting up like a puppet lead gen website? How does that work with things like GMB? I know that's important with local. So a bunch of questions there.
It kind of fits into models of where, like, do we think it's a false positive? Do we think it actually works? Because if we think that it actually works, and you go, that's a good idea, and I can see why Google would do that. We won't build a new site and do like single variable testing, like let's say like what Kyle does and stuff like that. We'll test
Mhm.
it on a real site. We'll test it on a site that might be earning 10, 15,000 pound a month, that might be ranking for 30, 40,000 keywords. And we might go, wait a minute, we think this is going to work. Let's test it. The nuances and stuff from one niche to a different niche is difficult to track. So we use like SEOtesting.com as being like, we set the tests up and then we check in a month, 3 months, 6 months. The issue is that it is a live SERP, and sometimes within those testing dates, an algorithm update comes along and it's kind of skewed the data. But we kind of look long term as well of like what's happening. So like there's not many people talk about the random ranking factor. So when you first do something, let's say you go and build a really strong link, when you first build that link, your site could go down before then it jumps up. Or if something happens where they don't really like it, it could go up before it goes down. And it's
Mhm.
called the random ranking factors. They've got a Google patent for it and stuff like that. So it's so difficult to look at it short term. You've got to be looking at things long term. And there's times where we don't really like single variable testing, and we don't really like just looking at one individual thing. We kind of look, because we've got that many sites, we look at that plus that plus that plus that equals success. Okay, why is that not working as well as that one? Because we've got certain sites in certain industries that compete against each other. So we might be like, why is that site beating that site when this site's got a better backlink authority or like a higher DR? Why is this site winning? And then we might go, wait a minute, we wrote all this content in Market Moves, or we wrote all this content in Surfer SEO, or we wrote all this content in Page Optimizer Pro, or we cover the topic in its entirety using Keyword Cupid or Keyword Chef or Ahrefs for keyword research, and what gaps are they in the content, and what internal linking structure have we done, a reverse silo, have we done a physical silo? Like, we go deep into what's working, looking at a lot of different factors, because it's just strange that it's sometimes what a big bug of mine, which what you mentioned before, was in this industry, what's frustrating for me is the people that are very, very good at content try and go down the route of saying you don't need links, content works, right? And the people that are really good at links cheap out on the content. And you're like, you need quality content, you need quality links. Stop arguing against each other. It's really simple. There's 3 pillars of SEO. Build a site technically well, do good quality content, cover the topic in its entirety, and build links. Stop having this argument that links don't work and you don't need good quality content, just hit it with links. You do need good quality content. You do need topical authority. You do need good silo structure, but then you need backlinks. Now, yes, there's caveats in certain industries. In an easier niche, you might just need content and you might not need the backlinks. But some people write good quality content, they naturally start to acquire links and stuff like that. So I've seen a lot, like I'm a big advocate of, let's say, Nick Jordan and stuff like that. He builds a lot of sites. My issue sometimes with it is building on an existing domain that's already a DR60, and he's then writing a lot of great quality content, but it's already on a powerful domain. So he's already got the
Yeah,
links.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, so this is kind of the pain points for us when we say, no, I don't understand why people need to have this argument. Is it this and is it that? And another one is, what's a stronger signal? I'm not bothered what's a stronger signal. Is it a signal? If it's a signal, I'm going to do it. Just do all the signals holistically, do everything right, as opposed to, but is having this keyword in the H1 more important than the H2 or in the introduction? Well, if you get it in all three, as long as you're not over optimizing it, get it in all three. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like some people try to overcomplicate things to be, well, this works better than that. I'm like, yeah, but if you do that and that, it works even better again. Yeah, I know, but that works better. I'm not bothered. Like, I just want to get to the end goal of ranking number one in Google and don't overcomplicate it. And that's kind of our model within the business is basically let's get it done as quickly as possible and get the number one rankings and then move on to the next site. And then just speed's important, especially because the amount of sites that we have. We need to get as quickly as we can to that number one site, to the number one position for the keywords that we want to, move on to the next site. We'll track that. If rankings start to drop, we'll go back to it. If it doesn't, and it remains number one for the majority of the keywords we want it to, we just keep it rented out, and that's fine. The client's happy to rent it. We're happy with the rental. We don't really, it's in maintenance mode, so there might be little bits of, they might have an occasional backlink here and there. They might have a new article being done, but it's just going through the motions. It's already got the backlinks. It's already the strongest domain that there is. And yeah, that's the model. But there's still a lot of myths out there where there's still a lot of people, if I'm being honest with you, Gregory, that are selling backlinks that are toxic. People don't even understand what toxic means. People just talk about traffic and high DR. And I'm like, right, okay, you want traffic and high DR? I'll tell you what I'll do. So we had a really big client and he was obsessed with traffic and high DR. So I says, give me a domain name for me to buy. So he gave me the domain name. I'm not going to share it publicly, but he gave me a domain name. And we went and got written 500 AI content, 500 articles that was all error codes on cars, right? And telephone numbers. And we got the domain within 6 weeks to a DR72, right?
Wow.
Now, this domain it's crap. I would not want a link from this site. It was a DR72 and it got a load of traffic. And I showed him it and I showed him what we'd done. And I says, now will you stop obsessing over traffic and DR? Because this is what the guest post providers are doing. A lot of them are manipulating the traffic and a lot of them are manipulating the DR. Stop obsessing over it. And he was like, right, okay, well, tell me what we should do. He ended up spending links and was getting him there were some links that we'd done was like DR25, but it was really relevant and it was a trusted link. It did get natural traffic that did send traffic through to his site because it was ranking for certain keywords that he wanted to rank for. And he's seen massive gains. And he was like, I cannot believe for so many years I've chased DR. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Hrefs. I'm not talking badly of Hrefs. It's a good metric to look at as well as other metrics. But when some people just solely look at DR and traffic as being, this is my go-to for links, it's like, well, that's probably why you're not ranking. So that's kind of
Yeah, that's great, man. I love that. I agree. I think DR should be a starting point, but yeah, a lot of good stuff you just said there. I feel like SEO is one of those things as people learn more about it, they overcomplicate it. Like I was in a mastermind at the Saigon Summit earlier this year, and there was this lady, she's in the make money online niche, like one of the most competitive spaces out there, right? And she's making like $18,000 a month from this blog. She knew nothing about SEO. Like the only thing she knew about it was I need good content. and I need relevant backlinks. And that was it. She treated it like a normal business. Like any of our SEO friends would walk circles around her, and she would freely admitted it. That's why she was at the
Yeah,
event trying to learn. But I
yeah,
do feel like a lot of SEOs, as they learn more, they overcomplicate it. Like you said, you just need good quality content. And honestly, if you don't care about making money, you're gonna need good quality content, like in the example you just gave with the
yeah,
DR site. But and then good backlinks, right?
yeah.
So I agree wholeheartedly. Let's talk a bit about the rank and rent model. So I'm curious on how you do. I have a suspicion on how you do it, but how do you go about getting your clients and then maintaining them? So you said you have about 800 clients. Walk me through a bit of that sales process, how it goes.
So it's not as complex as what people try to make out, right? So many people, when they ask me the question, or so many people, when they're trying to get into this model, overcomplicate it. Now, a caveat to this model that we do is that it costs quite a lot because we enter a lot of niches that don't work. But our model is, or how our model started was when we used to do a lot of works for schools and colleges and universities. So we started to look, what does a school pay for? Like, what do they need a service for? So it could be windows, building a classroom, roofing, tarmac, fencing, with plumbers, electricians, joiners. We started just kind of thinking, all right, what do they want? Because we wanted to stay in the commercial market, not in the residential.
Mhm.
What does home improvements? Now we have moved into home improvements, but initially we wanted to start in the commercial market. Because in the commercial market, you generally get paid a little bit more than when it's somebody's house. When it's someone's house, a lot of it is about price, and they like quality control needs to be absolutely, but more quality control. Obviously, I want all my clients to do amazing jobs, but when it's someone's house, they want it to be absolutely perfect and they want it really cheap. So, commercial market, I would recommend getting into the commercial market to start with. But we go broad. So, let's say a plumber, and we build the website going, right, okay, let's go and build a plumber's website. We know that everyone needs a plumber throughout the UK. So we'll build a site out and we'll try and build a very big site on plumbing, right? Knowing that further down the line, we're going to be building micro sites out after it. So we build the site out, and then all what we do is we go, anyone who's paying on PPC, so they already know the value of marketing. So anyone who's paying on PPC, let's go and reach out to them and say, we're generating leads for what you want. Are you interested in taking the leads completely for free? All what you need to do is give us a kickback if you secure any jobs. If you don't secure any jobs, you pay us nothing. Well, who's going to say no to that? No one.
Mhm.
Then everyone's going to say yes to it. So our success rate of when we start speaking to them is like 98% success rate of everyone saying, "Yeah, I'll take the leads all day long." So then we've got them on board. It's almost like the tripwire marketing technique. So you've got them on board, you send them through the leads, and then they start to come back and have a bit of a moan about the quality of the leads because the leads might, but the leads might not be specific for what they do. So it might be like, oh, we go and fix a tap and it's up in Scotland and they're based in London and they've got a 4 hour drive and they're like, this isn't kind of what we want. We're not competitive enough for this. So then we start to say, where do you make your most profit? Right? Because it's fine people doing the traditional keyword research. That doesn't tell you where they make profit. And it's fine looking at stuff that gets search volume, but that doesn't tell you where they make profit. So we speak to them and say, where is it that you make profit? So we start building, then we try and build a site that's more local to them because we're going, hey, on these are on the ball. These are speaking to the clients. These are dealing with the inquiries. Let's build a dedicated site for them for products that they make good profit on. And then they start then looking to go, okay, we're interested, but we want exclusive leads. Because initially, when we're saying you can get the leads, we'll send it out to 20 different companies. We've never once said it's exclusive. We'll send it out to as many companies as we can because we want the cream rises to the top. So we want like
Mhm.
2 or 3 of those 20 to come back to us with like reports of where it's all up to. Some of them just don't even respond to you. So you're like, we need to get rid of these, right? But then we might then from the 20 that we've outreached to start dealing with 2 or 3 of them. They might be in different parts of the country. One might specialize in one part of plumbing. Let's say it could be boiler replacement, and they might specifically do boiler replacement, where another one might be really good at, let's say, building wet rooms or shower rooms, right? So we built a site out for a shower room. And what happened was the plumber was doing these jobs and he was paying us like £2,000 a month, and he was happy. He pays us about £2,000 a month. And then one month he came to us and says, "Here's £4,500." And was like, "Whoa, what's this for?" And he says, "We've just done a
That's
wet."
a fantastic thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He says, "We've just done a wet room for a gym, and it was 16 different wet rooms that we did." And I'm like, "What's a wet room? I don't even know what a wet room is." It was like, "It's a shower room, but commercially. So it's like a big glorified shower." So I was like, right, okay, well, I didn't even know you did them. So let's build out a site for that specifically. If they make more money, let's build out a site specifically for that. And what you find is like wet rooms, like I'm giving a niche away here, like they're commercial shower rooms. So a plumber generally gets more money for it. So then further down the line, we started to realize that these was very good at DDA compliance, like disabled access compliance and stuff like that. So it led them further down the rabbit hole. And then we built out a site for disabled wet rooms, which need like a pull cord, and they've got a few kind of hold-ons, and it's got to be a wider door. And now they're the experts at doing that. So you start big, and bit by bit, you niche down, niche down, niche down. But you niche down when you've already got the client, knowing that they're good, knowing that they deal with the leads, knowing that they're wanting to grow with you, and they're happy to pay like a back end. And that's kind of how we've grown the business. So we start broad, and then bit by bit narrow it down to. And here's something for you, Gregory. If you ask me now, the top 50 or the top 55 niches that we get paid on, I would not have guessed one of them. I would not
Isn't
have
that the
guessed
way
one
it
of them.
goes?
There's so, like, I would have started out going roofing, heritage roofing, fencing, joiners, and electricians. I would have gone down that route, which is what we did. And it's until you start doing it over a long period of time, you start to realize where is it that they make the money. It's normally a sub niche within what they do. And then when you can micro, like, niche that down, all the videos are about that, all the images are about that, everything is about that one single product, that when they actually inquire with you as well, if there's a plumber and there's a disabled wet room supplier and they want a disabled wet room, if they're close on price, they'll go with the disabled wet room supplier, even though the plumber just does exactly the same job, because they feel you're an expert at
Yeah.
doing just disabled wet.
Yep.
All your videos are about disabled, your images about it, everything that you're saying is about, we are an expert at disabled wet rooms. We don't do anything else. We just do disabled wet rooms. And then they go, we want to go with you because you're the expert. And it allows you to actually get away with charging a bit more as well.
It does. I like this because I'm sure you've heard this in the agency space, but the way to build an agency is niche down, right?
Yeah.
I have a friend, he niches down to dentists, and you think dentist like, all right, free teeth cleaning or whatever, but he refuses to do anything but one service for dentists, which is, I think it's like all in fours or something like that. That were like, it's a surgery that costs like $10,000-$15,000. So his dental client is like, hey, would you? Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
implants in the teeth. His dentist would be like, oh, why won't you run this teeth cleaning ad for me? And he's like, nope. I only serve one client and one service of that client, and it's the thing that makes you the most amount of money. If you want to do a teeth cleaning ad, go hire someone else. That's not me.
Yeah.
So he like forces his clients to also niche down with his paid media,
Yeah.
which sounds similar to you. So let's talk about this briefly. So you start big, you start with one big website. Is this website kind of like a directory website? Like, what's the composition of this website that gets things going? How's that set up?
That's a great question, because we initially just started as like a big informational article to see, like, so obviously there's a lot. Steve Toff at SEO Notebook talks a little bit about zero search volume keywords.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the most under talked about things in the SEO industry, in my opinion. Like, we build out certain sites and we've got certain keywords that get 2,000-3,000 monthly searches that don't even show up as a keyword in SEMrush or and you're like, this is crazy. Like, when you start looking at, when you proper niche down, you're like, wow, this gets way more search volume than what I ever thought it could get. And some of my sites that are earning 20,000-25,000 pound a month, you'll load it into Ahrefs and it says it's got zero search traffic value, zero. And it's like a DR10, zero search traffic value, but like, I won't buy that site for £100. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it
Yeah.
earns, some of them earn like 21, 22 grand a month. And you're like, what? Do you know what I mean? So if you see it, seeing what it was going,
We use that at EF, actually. One of my,
yeah,
our director of operations, he looked at a new keyword research thing I came up with. He's like, this looks good, but I'm a bit concerned about all these keywords with zero search volume. Like, trust me, man, if it
Yeah.
exists in Google's mind, there is search volume.
Yeah. So, but now we've started to do the directories as well. So what we'll do is we'll load them all because with the directories, you can start ranking for the plural, like best
Mhm.
plumbers, not just like the singular of it being best plumber or plumbing company. You can rank for the companies, which also gets quite a bit of search volume. So you could rank for like best plumbing companies in London. And like Clutch do a good job of it, and a few of the directors and stuff, they do a great job of it. Bark do a good job of it, and some of these are earning 8 figures a year. Do you know what I mean?
I
So
mean,
the
Home Advisor Angie's List is basically just a fancy directory website, right?
exactly,
So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Yelp, same.
yeah,
A lot of people I hear like, oh, directories are dying, no one goes there anymore. But I mean, Home Advisor and Angie's List are massive
yeah.
companies. They're still doing really crazy
What
numbers.
I would say on that is that again, we got told don't do a directory, it's dying, and I'm like, no, it's doing almost better than ever. But here's a caveat: when we did start to look into it, certain very broad topic directories they are dying. So the ones that
Mhm.
like, let's say like a yellow pages where they do everything, but
Yeah.
then they're not really a master of anything and the topical authority is not great, they are seem to be dropping down. The ones that literally just say we are a bricklaying directory, they're flying. A plumbing directory, they're flying. When you start going like we do, you list your site, it doesn't matter what your site is. You can be an SEO agency or a plumber or an electrician. It's too difficult for the site to have enough backlink velocity going through to how many pages that they have. And it's so broad and all over the place. Those sites do seem to be dropping slightly. But the niche down directories, then yeah, they're doing better than ever.
That makes sense. I like the directory play because one of the issues with rank and rent, like with the individual sites, like there's a bit of that income ceiling. So when it comes to like trying to sell the asset, like really the only person you can sell it to is another rank and rent person, which they're often like suspicious of. I'm
Yeah,
sure you've seen seen that,
yeah,
or the actual end client, right? Because like that's the strategic buyer, and like the new buyer can't exactly like, all right, we drill up these leads way crazier unless they have some kind of other offer. But a national directory, like that is like no real income ceiling on how you do it,
yeah,
right? So
mm,
like that is some real valuation value there in this model.
yeah.
Talk to me a bit about how you do the directory in terms of like, okay, I got this national plumbing directory in the UK or whatever it is. Are you selling like direct listings on that to the end buyer, or are you using this as just kind of like your top of the funnel lead generator that will eventually get those guys that come in to build a more specific niche site for?
To start with, we don't give that much time and effort to it. So we've got our own in-house GMB scraper. So it goes and
Hmm.
it scrapes every single GMB that there is for the keywords that we want our niche to be in, the industry to be in. We go and extract all that information, like the opening times, the telephone number, the address, the name of the company, and the last 3 reviews, if they've got any reviews. If there's any photos, we'll pull the photos in. And we just do basically pull all the information from the Google business profiles. We create a dedicated listing for every single one that there is in the UK. And then wherever they're based, we kind of categorize it underneath the counter. So, right, okay, they're in Greater London. All these are in Greater London. Right, okay, they're in Essex. All these are in Essex. We don't do any unique content. It's just 100% just scrape data and put onto the site. But then what happens is we've kind of set up our own kind of display ads type market, like advertising on the platform of being, do you want to add your personal bio to this page? And which obviously then adds unique content. So it's good for us if they do want to do that. And so once that part, and would you want inquiries for, and then we find out what their main service is. So it could be plumbing or electricians. Do you want free inquiries on your page for plumbing? Would you want us to send it through to you? Now, obviously, they're going to say, yes, of course, we want you to send it through to us because we normally end up, it's called like brand jacking. We'll normally end up ranking
Mhm.
like number 3 or number 4 behind the brand. So they say, yes, we'll write the bio. So they write the bio. So now we're getting unique content. And then the sales team then are going back and forth saying, all right, what else is it that you want? Have you got any newer pictures? Have you got a video? And then some of them start saying, they're all like no follow backlinks. Oh, can you change it to a do follow? And you're going, well, we can't, no, but why do you need a do follow backlink? Are you looking for strength? And then we can then try and cross sell them backlinks to one of our link building agencies and stuff like that. But then from there, then it just gets the foot in the door to get speaking to them. And then what we do say is, look, I tell you what, if we build you out a lead generation site, we'll make that a do follow that link. And it's kind of incentivizing them to say, right, okay. But then also on that page, we'll link to this other page as well. And we'll use that G&B listing on the site. So all of our rank and rent sites are legit businesses that are on the site. We've got a real, we don't fake any address. We don't fake any telephone number. A real business is put onto the site. So whoever's going to get the exclusive leads, we want to use their address or the home address, or sometimes they might have 3 or 4 different offices. We want to use one of their offices. We want to say, this website is going to this company, and we put all their, so we ticking all the boxes for EEAT. If they want to complain about anything on the website, they can complain. It's going to go directly through to the company. If the company don't like, yes, the wording's incorrect, you shouldn't be saying this is mis-selling or whatever, obviously we'll change it straight away. But then we tick in the box. So a lot of people try to build lead generation sites. There's no author, there's no company behind it, there's no address, there's no telephone number, there's nothing. And Google now are starting to clamp down more and more on the EEAT signals. So years ago, we went down this route of being, we need this to look like a real business. Like, you've got to treat every single website like a real business. And to be honest with you, we didn't do it from a Google ranking point of view. We did it from a conversion.
Yeah.
Would you inquire on this website not knowing who you're inquiring to? No. Would you inquire on this site? You've got all the information. Yes. You've got previous jobs that they've done, testimonials, case studies. Yeah, I'm going to go with this site, not this site. So that's the kind of route that we went down, and yeah, it stood us in good stead.
That's awesome, man. I have one more question on this business model, then I want to move into a bit about what you talk about with investing and team building.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that you have clients that are doing like this pay per performance thing. Like you only get paid if they make a sale. I personally love this model, but I've always been curious on the logistics of how it works. Like, I have a friend, he does e-commerce, like he's an agency owner for e-commerce businesses. And for there, it's very clear with the data of like how many sales you're making. It's all in the dashboards. But with these more local businesses who often aren't good with sales and their own processes in general, is often chaos. Like, how do you go about tracking that? How do you build the trust with that person that they're going to pay you? Because I have another friend, he had a rank and rent website, and he generated this massive pool deal that should have been like $150K to him personally. And the guy sent him like $2,000 and blocked him, never talked to him again. Right. So how do you go about securing these kind of deals in a way where, it works for both parties?
So believe it or not, it's not like, again, it's not as complex as what people think now. I'm not saying this is the right way, by the way, as well, Gregory, because some people can bite the hand that feeds them, right? So like you're saying there, how naive of that from that swimming pool surround company is it? The lead generation company just got him a lead that he made £150,000. He could generate that every couple of months. So why is he paying him £2,000 and then blocked him? It's commercial suicide. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Like, you only have to pay on the back end, pay him what he's worth. And that's the kind of route of what we go down, as being, when we first start, we go out to 20 companies, maybe even 30 companies. All 30 companies get the inquiry, right? And it's at that point where we start to realize who's the best company at the conversions, because we might speak to the 30 companies as being, did you secure it? Where's it up to? And if someone turns around saying, no, they've gone elsewhere, we'll try and fact, do you know who they went to? Because then we know which one within the 20 won the job.
Go call though.
Yeah, and then we can ring them up and say, oh, how did it go? And if they say, oh, yeah, we didn't win it on this occasion, you're like, yeah, you did. Do you know what I mean? Then we're just going to switch them off. But do you know what? It's so very rare, very, very rare that someone doesn't pay you. What I would say is, this is the main argument, not that they don't pay you, but they want to pay you obviously the least they possible can.
Right.
So some might say, we'll pay you, we won the job, here's £100. And you might go, you've just made 10 grand on that job. Like, 10 grand net profit. I think you should be paying us £2,000-3,000. You're still making £7,000 that you would not have had. I don't feel that is right. And if you want to only pay us that, that's fine. But we're going to switch you off, and now we're going to just now send all the leads, and we'll try and look at the 2 closest competitors to them and go, we're just going to send it to them. And then straight away they're like, oh, no, okay, yeah, I understand. Stuff like that. So the sales team are good at making certain that we get the most out of them. But what's important is that we get a sensible figure that it still keeps them hungry to want to work our leads. So if we say, let's split profit 50-50, sometimes they're doing more work than what we are. Do you know what I mean? They've still got to do all the
Almost
work.
always in the
So it's
trades,
like
like, yeah.
a lot of them do a 60-40, 70-30 kind of profit share split because they're still making 70% of something that they wouldn't have had.
Right.
And a lot of them now start to understand that. They happily pay it. But the ones that don't are only like small clients that we've not really got the site built up yet to a stage where, because what normally starts to happen is it's a pay on performance model until they've been with us for a while. And then what we end up saying is, look, in the last 12 months, you've paid us £50,000, right? The year before, you paid us £40,000. I'll tell you what we'll do. To keep the model really easy, pay us £3,000 a month as a rank and rent. So it doesn't matter what you convert, pay us £3,000 a month. That saves you £14,000 if you do the same as what you did this year, next year. And I'm hoping you're going to grow again. And then obviously they snatch our hands off and say, yeah, that's fine. Now we've got them on a monthly recurring revenue stream. So we know exactly, it's predictable of what we're going to get paid. And it works well for them because they can budget in, knowing what they're doing. And it works well for us. And then it's best of both worlds. Now, obviously, some might say, well, why would you do £3,000 a month when you made 50,000? And it's just the model of being, it's guaranteed monthly recurring revenue. Because sometimes you can have it that you don't get paid, you get paid 15,000. You don't get paid, you get paid 20,000. And it's difficult to know what we can spend on the sites to keep growing it or build a second or a third or a fourth or a fifth site for the client. When we've got a monthly recurring revenue model, it's like, right, okay, everything's predictable. We can now move into this. Yes, if they're paying £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 a month, we can build them a third, a fourth, and a fifth site. And it works well for them. It works well for us. We make certain that all of our clients are getting a return on investment. And they have to get a return on investment. Because if they're not, I don't want to work with them. I want them to make certain that when they ring us, they enjoy working with us, that it's a good business model for them. But then we know for us that we're good at what we do. It might cost us, let's say it costs us £50,000 to rank a website in total, is generally where it's at. If we can get £3,000 a month, well, you tell me any other business model that's going to get you 80% yield. And within 14 months, you're going to get your money back. And then after that, you're going to be earning £3,000 a month. There's not that much work after it that needs to be done. It's one of the best business models that there is I've ever come across, if not the best business model I've ever come across.
There is one better business model, and that's when you decide to spend all your wealth buying a business from Empire Flippers. But we'll get
Yeah.
I'll get Castor on the sales call with you.
Yeah.
No, I like that, man. I think that switching from performance to retainer makes a lot of sense. Just from like the logistics or like 800 of these clients to track down all those leads seems like quite the hurdle.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. I want to switch gears because we're getting towards the tail end of the show. I still have so much to ask you. You said you often invest in the businesses you work with. I know you've done that in the internet marketing space. Are you doing that also with the more local lead gen clients as well? Tell me a bit about that side of your business.
Yeah. So anything that's an expense to our company from an SEO standpoint of building the content and building the backlinks and technical and stuff like that, I want in on that company. So we were spending, I think it was something like £60,000 a month with Searcheroo. We went out to market and we was using Get Me Links and a lot of other link vendors and stuff like that. But we were spending a lot with Searcheroo because I've invested in them. I'll only invest in a company that I feel generally are the best. And I generally mean that. So we was using them and spending a fortune with them. And I was like, Tom Phillips at the time was like, I'm all right, kind of having out. So I bought his 50% share with Carl Hudson. I wanted to improve quite a lot the quality control in-house because then it meant that I got better backlinks for myself. And they still use that model. We still spend £60,000 a month on content and backlinks. But now I feel like the content and the backlinks are better than they ever have been. And I get a cut of the profits of what that business makes as well. So that model works pretty well. And yeah, these like Autoblog we've invested into, a lot of like other SEO related industries that we've invested into that we use. So that's on the acquisitions from internet marketing side of things. And then what starts to happen on the lead gen side is the business owners start to become a little bit uncomfortable because they feel like they've built their business on quicksand. And I can kind of understand it because I own the website that's generating them all the inquiries. And at any point, I could, if I wanted to, switch them off. So I've started to get a little bit of a problem where one or two clients have started to come to me, and I've started to realize that with a lot of power becomes a lot of responsibility. And it's not about me and the way I work, it's me instilling into my team the way they work. They have to do business with honest trust and integrity. You can't just expect, because someone comes along and says, I'll pay you an extra £200 a month, and someone says, oh, well, they're getting 3,000, I'll give you 3,200, to switch them off when they've been with us for 5 years and they've built up a big team reliant on them inquiries. So
Yeah.
what starts to happen is some of these start to become a little bit uncomfortable. They might have gone from 2 vans on the road to 25 vans on the road, and they might have 60 members of staff that they would need to get rid of if we stop the inquiries. And that's 60 potential mortgages, families that could be destroyed. So a lot of the time they end up saying, would you be interested in being an investor or shareholder within the business? As long as you give us exclusivity. I'm like, we already give you exclusivity of the leads. I mean, like, that you won't switch us off. I'm like, I've told you we're not going to switch you off. And they're like, I know, but let's just get something contractually down. So I'll look at their business model. And that's sometimes then when we start to say, yes, I will, as long as I can employ someone to initially deal with the leads. Because something that we've got within our business is when an inquiry comes in, we have KPIs to get back to that inquiry within 23 seconds. And that's what I
Wow.
want from the businesses. So we own a call center as well, like in the finance sector. So like an inquiry comes in, 23 seconds. If we do not get hold of them within 23 seconds, and let's say it's a mortgage broker, and they're speaking to somebody else, that lead's gone. We ran our tests on it. The minute it goes past a minute, this isn't for all industries, obviously, but the minute it goes past a minute for financial advice or mortgage brokers and stuff like that, you've got 50% less chance than what you had to convert that inquiry.
That's so
So
wild. It's so true. I see it with leads, like lead forms, for example. Like if you don't call that person back right away, they have completely forgot they even filled out a lead form. They have no,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
why are you calling me? Like you
But also,
literally filled out the form.
yeah, yeah. But also what happens as well is that, let's say in PPC, they'll fill out the form 3 times. And once if I've spoken to an independent mortgage broker that says to me, I can go to any lender you want and I can get you the best rates, and I've been speaking to you for 40 minutes, when the next mortgage broker rings me up, I'm like, I've already had it sorted, mate. I'm done. So the first person to get hold of them wins. Now, there's times that
Yeah.
we might not want to, on the bidding process, this is away from SEO on PPC, we might want to be showing position number 3 or position number 4 because it's cheaper for the clicks, that we might want to be on there, but then try to go, as soon as that inquiry comes in, we get it and we kind of get in touch with them before the number 1 company who's ranking number 1 in Google. So we've got them on the phone, we've won it, and we've realized that if we ring them within 23 seconds, 9 times out of 10, we're the first person to ring them, might bid to be number 1 in the SERPs, like on pay per click.
PPC is funny in that way. It's like one of the rare forms of marketing you don't want to be at the top of sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's cool, man, about the call center and everything. I feel like that opens up a whole new can of worms, but we're coming up on the final about 12 minutes
Yeah,
or so. And I did want to talk about your team building structure. So
yeah,
I've met a lot of people over the years in SEO with my time, Empire Flippers. Most of them are really bad at managing teams. Like that's the
yeah,
number one advice I always give to entrepreneurs: get better at managing teams. But
yeah.
you're like the outlier. Like I don't think I know someone who has so many talented people working for you. So talk to me about that process. How did you do that? How do you incentivize them to
So,
stay with you and all that good stuff?
so I've had some very, very, very good mentors over the year. So let's say like Mad Singer. Mad Singer's a great manager, and sometimes I'll speak to him, and it might only be different conversation. It could be in the pub when we're talking, and he could be saying, "You should be trying this, and you should be doing that." But in my opinion, the best investment you can do, the best investment I have done, is in the people that work with me. That's the best investment I can do. Forget the content, the backlinks, the websites, the businesses we work for. If you get good quality people around you, are encouraged, you give them enough space for them to kind of grow and feel like they're growing and they're doing their own thing, they will do everything for you. They will honestly do everything. They'll work 14-hour days, 7 days a week if you ask them to. Now, I don't expect that, but if they wanted to do that, if there was something that, like an algorithm update comes on, that's what they'll do. Investing in that, in the people around you, in my opinion, people like you were saying in the SEO industry, they don't do it enough. So when we first started out, rolling back, and I'll try and do it as quick as I can. So when we first started out, we employed SEO gurus, SEO experts. Nah, it didn't work. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's a classic saying. They think they know best. You try and educate them. They don't listen. No, didn't work. So we started out with just hiring apprentices that didn't know. They knew very little, but they listened to you like a sponge. Everything that you said was driven by data that we had from testing, and we said, you do it this way. And when they're seeing results happening, they don't need to spend loads of time doing research themselves or watching videos. And because so many SEOs still to this day waste several hours a day watching other people's videos with how do you rank? And it's like, we don't need to do that. We're telling you, we've got the blueprint. This is how you rank. And we're like, right, okay. So at that point, then my kind of role now within the business is being a cultural architect. So keeping the culture, keeping the people around me happy, making certain that if they're too busy, they've got enough VAs or staff that can fulfill the day-to-day jobs to do the work. Let them blossom, let them build their own assets. Anyone within the company that comes up with a new idea that builds out the site, they get 25% of the site, even though they don't pay anything towards the site and the content and on the links. So they're growing their own asset value up. And yeah, that's kind of the model between it. And would I have been different 14 years ago when I was skint in doing this model? I might have been a bit like, oh, I'm going to give you 10% or something. But I feel like now I've made a lot of money in this industry, and I feel like I am a little bit of a philanthropist where I'm giving back to others and I want to elevate others and I want others to do well. And sometimes I get more of a kick out of one or two of my directors or one or two of my members of staff or one or two of my business partners growing out a site with me as well, but growing out the site and them being so happy makes me even happier, if you get what I mean. Now, I don't,
Definitely,
that
yeah.
might be ingrained in the heart and the way being brought up. I don't know. I don't know the psychological mindset behind it, but it's almost like when you're at Christmas, I prefer giving a present than receiving a present, if that makes sense. And it's the same kind of model as that. And I love seeing the people around me do well. I love elevating others as best I can. That was another reason why I didn't always like going on to podcasts and doing stuff like this, because I wanted to make certain before I did anything, I elevated my own team. And my own team, they won't go anywhere. They might go and do their own things as well, but they'll always work with me. And I know that they'll always work with me because they're well looked after. They can do their own things if they want to. They can go and flock the nest and do whatever they want to do. They're happy. They understand that money isn't everything and it's more about the journey and the happiness that comes with it. But they do want to see growth, and they see growth every single year. And that's
That's
kind of the
amazing,
model.
man. I'm also very similar to you on that front. Like, I loved seeing, from my own perspective, like, is when a seller sells like a 7-figure business with us, like the life changing story that comes with it's amazing. I'm also like you in terms of I prefer giving gifts at Christmas than receiving, to the point now where, like, my sister, she got a brand new iPad for my parents, and my parents gave me a pair of AA batteries because they're like, well, we know you just don't care. They're like, oh, thanks. I love these batteries. I actually needed it for, for my remote controller. So thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm very similar in that regard. There's something you said there that I think is extremely important to kind of double click on, which is letting people feel like they are growing. And I think part of that is having that feeling of agency. So, like at EF, for example, like obviously Justin was my mentor. I was his apprentice, and a similar setup like what you guys had going on. Eventually, though, like just kind of backed out. Not that we don't talk anymore. He's like one of my best friends, but like he just kind of lets me do my own thing. And I think that it gives me and probably other people in your team that sense of agency, of control, which is way more valuable as far as like management studies go for retention, like employee retention. Like they
Yeah, for
found
sure. Yeah.
compensation is like good, but it's like brushing your teeth. As long as the hygiene is good, that's all that matters. Anything over that is kind of like overkill usually, but that
Yeah.
sense of
Yeah.
agency is really important. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are afraid of that though. Like an entrepreneur who's say he's building out an affiliate site or e-commerce or whatever,
Yeah.
and this person wants to go do their own project. I think their general tendency is the entrepreneur's like, no, I need to stop this from happening. Like,
Yeah.
what do you recommend to the entrepreneur to get over that kind of anxiety of letting their employees kind of
I think the
blossom?
hard thing is, I think it's ingrained into certain personality traits, if I'm being honest. Certain people are better not having a team. And people might not like me hearing that. And some people go, oh, like you need to have a team to grow big and stuff like that. But some people, generally speaking, the people that feel, when I speak to people, majority of the time, when they don't want to elevate others within the team, is they're worried that they will go off and nick all the processes and systems and go and do it themselves. Right? That's what they're worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're worried about that because that's probably what they did. And it's like kind of if you keep claiming that your missus is cheating on you, it's probably because you're saying it because you're cheating on her. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. So if you actually educate the people, if they are, let's say, your apprentice, and you educate them about honest trust and integrity. And look, if you want to go and do your own thing at any point, go and do it. But the grass isn't always greener. Why don't we roll our sleeves up together? And why don't I do everything I can for you to do better? And it means that the business will do better. And it means that everyone does better and we enjoy the journey. That's what life is about. You go and do your own thing and make 5 million quid, that's fine. But you know what? In 10 years' time, you'll regret it because, yes, you've got a lot of money, but you'll start going, do you know what? I trampled on a lot of people for me to make my money. And I've known some people sell it for 30, 40 million, and within 6 months, they've killed themselves because they've realized it was almost like dirty money of what they made. And it was like, and they didn't feel proud of it. They felt a massive hole in what they was doing. And it's sad because certain people chase success from a monetary value, and it's the worst thing that you can do because if you try and chase success by money, it's just wrong. Like you need to enjoy trying to achieve goals and just keep celebrating those little mini wins. And
I agree.
that's what the team do as well. Now the team do it as well. Go on, sorry.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. I think chasing money is kind of a fool's game. It's the newbie starting out like, oh, I want the Lambo, versus like the richest people I know. Like I have a friend, he sold his business for 200 million,
Yeah,
completely bootstrap, no VC, nothing. And the dude is just like a really chill, normal guy. like,
yeah,
like he was like, I man, I thought I was going to get into wicked shape once I sold 200 million. Turns out I can just go to McDonald's a lot more often. So,
yeah,
like really, just a really cool dude. But it wasn't ever about the money for him. Like obviously that's great, but it was about the
yeah,
value. And I think that more artistic side of entrepreneurship is probably the healthier side versus our grind set hustle core
yeah,
culture that some of our entrepreneur friends have. Like these people too, because I know we're mutual friends with them. I won't bring up their names, but I'm sure you met many people like this. But
yeah,
I have friends in our space who won't even like go see a movie or play a video game because like, no, I have to be productive all the time. We're like, well,
yeah,
you're telling me this right now at 2 a.m. in a bar in Bangkok, right? like, what do you
yeah.
mean? Like, go enjoy life. Like, what are you talking about? So, like, this quest for money is sometimes a foolish errand versus a quest for value, I think is more important. All right, James, we're at the very end. So, I have 3 quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, man. In your view, what are the best hidden growth opportunities for SEO today?
I'd say Parasite SEO is great for get instant wins. Quickly get a site done on a high DR site, hit it with a couple of tier 2 backlinks, and that's working the best at present. It might not do in a few months, but at present, that's the best way of generating quick traffic.
A quick aside on that, are you using Parasite SEO for your local lead gen as well, or more for the
Yeah,
other
so
sides
we
of your
normally, so
business?
like what we end up doing is doing like a best plumbing companies, trying to rank for that term, like almost like the directory site.
Ah,
And we link to
I
like
see.
5 of our different sites. So we'll put us number 1, us number 2, us number 3, us number 4, us number
Brilliant.
5. And that's kind of doing that. And you're getting 5 lots of backlinks to different sites as well and stuff like that. So
That's a very smart way to do that. I like that. What tools or resources can entrepreneurs use to help them improve their SEO?
just the basic ones that everyone knows, like Screaming Frog, Market Moves, Surfer SEO. We use auto blogging. I've invested into it for mass scale of AI content for like supporting documents and stuff like that. They're the main ones, really. You don't really need many after that. Like SEMrush, Ahrefs, stuff like that. It's just the generic ones of what's needed. Yeah.
I hung out with one of the founders of auto blogging last week in Manila. So yeah, that was
Hey,
cool to
yeah,
see
he's a
them there.
super cool
Yeah,
guy. He's
very
so
cool guy. Yeah.
when I first invested into the business, I knew the tool was amazing, I was a little bit worried. I knew him. I didn't really know his work ethic or anything. He graphs. The minute something is changing and improving, he wants to improve it every single day. So, yeah, great mentality. He's a really, really cool guy. Babe Ashada. I'd recommend some people following him. He's a cool
Yeah,
guy.
very cool dude. All right, my final question for you, and the hardest question. This doesn't make me laugh, James. I might not publish this episode, so be careful. What has been your funniest moment working with an SEO?
Oh, God. There's too many. Funniest moment with regards to rankings of websites or ranking of stuff that I've done?
Either. It could be both. You can tell two. I'll allow you to
Two,
tell two if you want.
like, we went down a rabbit hole and we had a big site, absolutely tank. We algorithm update. We went out to every man and his dog. We was like, literally every single person I could speak to that was high level. I'm speaking to them. What's going on here? The R&D testing team are on it. And Kazra set the site to no index.
Oh, that
And
was
that
Castro. I am sending him a
one of my
Facebook
biggest
message
sites
right
to no
now.
index, and he thought it was on a staging server for some building another site, and he set the site to no index. And I'm running around all over the place. I can't believe it. What's going on? And then Kaz went, "Yeah, my bad. I set my site to no index." So
After I
I could
just
tell
gave
you
him
some
props
stories
on
from
this
Thailand
episode.
as
Oh
well,
my
but
god.
I'll keep that one away. I'll just throw Kaz under the.
Oh, that's why I brought you on here, to see if we couldn't insult Castro in some way. So that way I
Yeah,
could tell him, like, yo, James was just on the podcast and we talked about you. And you'll have to
yeah.
listen to the very end. It's just us making fun of him.
Yeah. Don't tell him where it is, and he'll have to wait right till the end.
Oh, sometimes do that with people that come on the podcast. Like, who do you know that's a social influencer? So we could bring up their name like once, and I could reach out to them and let them know we talked about them on the
Yeah,
podcast. But yeah, that's great. We actually had a very similar thing. We had this big issue where we saw this drop in our in organic rankings. For very briefly, we figured it out quite quick, but we were looking everywhere, man. And then we realized what it was. Our developer had accidentally no indexed like 2,000 pages. We asked him to like delist or no index these certain types of pages. So he did this like mass de-indexation, but it included all this other stuff. Like, oh shit, no, don't do that.
yeah,
Abort. Yeah, that's definitely a mistake that could happen to even seasoned pros, right?
yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, this was an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this.
Yeah,
You know, you're someone I've looked up to for a very long time in the industry. I first met you way back in Chiang Mai SEO. I saw you post that video the other day on Facebook.
yeah.
I could see my young self in the background, just like, oh man, this guy is cool as shit. So it's always been a pleasure, my friend. For anyone that wants to follow you and connect with you, where's the best place for them to go do that?
I'm on all the social networks, so mainly Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. You can find them all on jamesdooley.com. So that's all the profiles are on there and stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing quite
I'll,
a few more of the personal branding side of things now. So yeah, I'm quite active on social media. So
Great. I'll start sending you like a few hundred Empire Flipper shirts every month. So every video podcast you do, just always wear
yeah,
a EF shirt for me.
give me some when
Yo,
I'm in Chiang Mai. I'll wear it.
awesome. I'll give you a few hundred in Chiang. Don't you worry, man. I'll hook it up. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
man. Take
All
it
right.
easy.
Cheers, Gregory. Cheers, mate. Cheers.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it got you inspired at all the different things that are happening in this industry. And of course, if you just want to buy a highly profitable business, you can always go to empireflippers.com/marketplace, or maybe you want to make an exit of your highly profitable business, and you could go to empireflippers.com/sell your site. I've been your host, Greg. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review, give us a like, a follow, share it across social media. Talk to you all soon. See you on the next episode.